Okay, you can continue.
So off we went back home to our little house and went to our little classes and minded our own business. And the day
Went back to school.
Yeah, back to school. And I was social chairman for the chapter.
Oh.
And they have a Christmas dance every year. And this was like October, I think. And so I had to go downtown to the Hilton because they held it in the Hilton Hotel. And make arrangements for the Pi-Phi Christmas dance, which I did.
Okay.
You have a question?
No.
And so I did that. I set the date and made all the arrangements.
Yeah,
and, this was right in the middle of downtown Columbus, right? The big main section of Broad and High.
Mm-hmm.
High Street runs north and south, right, runs the other way, east and west. So I got out of the hotel, went down to the light, crossed over, and walked up a couple buildings across from the Hilton. And prepared to get a bus back because I didn't have a car and nobody else was going downtown to make arrangements, so I was kind of on my own. And I walked up and I looked in this doorway, kind of back in this doorway, and I saw this young man standing there, and I thought I had seen pictures of this young man, and plus this young man was a highly visible person on the campus. So although I did not know him, he had become known to me in terms of recognition.
Okay.
His pictures were all over. He was in all the honoraries. He was vice president of the senior class. He sat on the council with the university, and he was a big football star. But I thought, he doesn't look like anything really, hotshot or anything. He just looks like a, gentleman. What's he doing down here?
Regular guy.
So I walked up. I had to walk about, I'd done 10 or 12 feet into this doorway up to the door, and I looked at him and I said, well, you're John Borton, aren't you? He looked at me like, who is this? Not to be deterred, I said, I met a friend of yours last week. And he looked at me, he still didn't have much to say. And so I said, John Galbraith, you know John Galbraith? Oh, he said, yeah, I know him. He's a Delt, and I work for him. He gave me a job. I said, well, John, I want to tell you something. Boy, he really thinks highly of you guys, Freddie, Chris, and Dick Guy, and you, and everybody. He said, I said he had nothing to say but nice things about you. So we talked, I don't know about what, and the bus came. We got on the bus, and we sat together on the bus, and we chit-chatted all the way home. And it was very friendly and very casual and, and very pleasant and very nice. And we got off at the campus, and he went to the Delt house. I went home and said, bye. And I said, bye. And I went back up to the Pi-Phi house. Of course, I was going nuts. I mean, here he was, the big campus hero. But see, I didn't want him to know this. So I went running up 15th Street, and I burst through the doors of the Pi-Phi house and said, I came home on the bus with John Borton, for heaven's sake. Then one of the girls said, oh, Bobby, he'll probably call you for a date because he's not going with anybody. I said, call me for a date, doesn't even know me. And I said, he won't even remember me. So,
gee.
I mean, it was a very casual, offhanded kind of
hang out kind of thing.
So it was 2 or 3 nights later. By then I lived on the 3rd floor of the house, so I know I was a junior. I lived there with Lynn Stone, my roommate. And she and I had the back room. The 3rd floor was the elite floor because it only had four rooms, four bedrooms, and there were only 8 of us up there, and we were just a little clan on the 3rd floor. So there was a telephone in the hall. We had hall phones. And whenever the phone rang, somebody answered the phone.
Oh, sure.
So they said, Bobby Borton, phone call for you. Bobby Surbeck. Bobby, no, they didn't even say Surbeck. Bobby, there's a phone call for you. So I went over and picked it up unwittingly and unknowingly. And I said, hello. He said, hello, Bobby. This is John Borton calling. And I said, John Borton? He said, maybe you remember we came home on the bus together. And I said, John Borton on the bus. Oh, yeah. I said, I remember that the other day. That was really nice. Hi, John. How are you?
Okay, keep going.
So I said, I just wanted to call and say hello, see how you were doing, and see if you want, we could go to a movie or something like that. So I said, well, that would be very nice, because I have to explain here that I had no plans for any sort of an attachment at that point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be a career girl, and I was going on to a hospital dietitian,
Oh,
work in a
okay.
hospital,
Okay.
and find some good-looking rich doctor and get married and live happily ever after. Okay, so
Oh,
I
my
was very
gosh.
determined to be academic and go to classes and follow my.
You had your plan mapped out.
Yeah,
It did involve this football guy.
it didn't involve this guy at all. So.
Gee.
And we started dating, and when you know, that's the year we went to the Rose Bowl,
Oh, wow.
and he's co-captain of the team.
Yeah.
And we
Holy cow.
we didn't bond, but I mean, we just had a nice relationship.
Uh-huh.
There's a chemistry
Oh,
between
yeah.
us.
Okay.
So we kept dating, and of course they got the the league what do I want to call it? The championship.
Right. 54 national championship.
No, that was before they played. They won the.
Oh, the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
trying to remember. Yeah, the Big Ten championship, and they were going to have student trains, and all I wanted to do is go on the student train to California and see this game.
Sure.
And so I called my parents, and you have to understand my parents. They weren't possessive, but they were.
Well, they were careful and loving and protective.
But they didn't want
And my
their
little
daughter
girl's
to
out
be
in
away
Ohio.
from August or September until spring.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, please, I beg of you, I am dating this football player on the team. I said, he's a really nice guy, Dad, because her dad. And so I said, I don't want any gifts, no, I don't want, just money. And I want to buy a ticket to go on this student
Yeah.
train. My roommate's
It's probably
going.
100 or 150 bucks or some giant amount back then.
No, it was cheap.
Oh, was it?
Well, I mean, it was very reasonable.
Okay.
$125 maybe.
Okay.
And they had a Vista Dome car on. I mean, it was
Oh,
just
yeah,
really
yeah.
kazootie. So,
This is in the era before airplane
Yeah.
travel was common.
and so I begged. I said, please let me go. And said, no, my mother gets on the phone, who was tied to my waist, and she let me go, but it was very hard for my mother to let me go. Okay.
Yeah.
So she said, yes, there's just one hitch to this. She said, we'll talk it over and see about you going, but regardless, if you go, you have to come home first.
Oh,
Because
boy.
you have to spend a little time at home, because see, we got
Oh,
off
yeah, yeah.
early.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
okay.
the middle of December.
Okay.
And then Christmas, and then
Yeah.
the train left
Well,
from Columbus.
Mom and Dad want to see their girl.
Yeah, that was what happened. So
We all relate
I
to
said,
that.
anything, I'll do anything. If you just buy me a ticket and let me go. So I was starting to get into him a little bit, I think, at this point.
Well, sure.
And, everywhere we went on the campus, the cars stopped and said, "Hi, Johnny, how are you?" And and then they want to know how his finger is,
Oh, yeah.
that bent
Because
finger.
the backstory here, folks, is that during his senior year, Dad was expected to be the starting quarterback, and that did not occur. He had broken his ring finger a week or two before the first game, and Dave Leggett, the second string backup guy, took over and led the team and was the
Did a
starting
good job.
quarterback for the entire season. Did extremely well.
He did well, yes, he did.
Dad did not fully recover. He managed to play in a game or two here and there, but not very much. And it was a very, very challenging, ugly time for him.
Yes, it was.
For his football scenario. And later on, he would tell me many stories. This is Jim, his son. So that's also part of this backstory that Mom just referred to. Keep going.
So they had the best doctors, the best orthopedic surgeons. They have a wonderful medical facility. They did everything for that finger that they could possibly do, but it just wouldn't respond. So he maintained the captaincy of the team.
Yeah.
And to my way of thinking, he was very influential and very much of a supporter and helped these guys. So even though he wasn't out there on the field playing, he was definitely in the background
Right.
moving them right along and so on. And so they said I could go, so I went home for a few days, packed my stuff, and got back on the train and went to Columbus, Ohio. And the train left from there. So the group that was going on the train was filled. And it was just a Party all the way. And he had said, are you going to go to California? I said, well, I have to call my parents and see what my parents have to say. And so I came back, I said, my parents said, that I could go, and I'm really excited. And he said, well, that's a good thing, because we'll have a date out there when I'm not practicing or, footballing it. And after the game is over, we'll do something. And I'm thinking, do something? I just took college clothes, saddle shoes or loafers or sweaters, and you didn't dress up, except I had a light colored coat. I remember that year. It was a mohair coat or a cashmere coat or something, I don't remember. It was a beautiful coat, and I did take that. And when I got out there, I don't know if you ever knew this, there was a car dealer there who leased 20 cars to the Ohio State football team. They were scarlet and gray.
Oh my gosh.
So everybody.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Everybody in Los Angeles, when they saw one of these cars, they knew there was a football player inside. Boy, what a shock to this little Beano farm girl from New Jersey, whatever, and you're riding around in this car. So he'd say, we're going somewhere, I forget what, and we'll stop by and pick you up. I said, oh, that's nice. So people.
How neat!
It was cool, and it was just for the football players, the staff, and
right.
Woody and whoever could commandeer one of them. So we went to the game, and I had a red pennant, Ohio State pennant, and it was rainy. It was